With Dense Networks, and we've been on the road, and today we're in Florida Poly. One more time. Do it again. All right. Hi, I'm Pete Murray with Dense Networks, and we've been going around the country looking at innovative, collaborative efforts that are helping build the cities of the future and build the architecture. And today we're at Florida Poly with Dr. Dean Bushey. Welcome, Doctor.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Well, we're excited because we've had the opportunity to collaborate with Dr. Bushey and observe some of the amazing work that's happening at Florida Poly and the new Advanced Mobility Institute. Dr. Bushey, you are the inaugural leader of this effort?
I am. I have a strong team behind me, mind you, and it's all about the students. But yes, we have a new Advanced Mobility Institute.
And what's the goal? I mean, why advanced mobility?
Well, first let me tell you a little bit about Poly, just to remind the viewers that Poly is a STEM-only school, small school. We have about 1,500 students focused on all things that are STEM, and one of those, and we think is going to be leading the way in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, is advanced mobility. The concept of everything that goes on with advanced mobility, whether it's autonomous vehicles, connected vehicles, electric vehicles, advanced traffic management systems, all those and the testing of said systems are all part of an advanced mobility that will drive not only the STEM students and give them the educational projects they need, but will drive the economy forward. So it's pretty neat.
Well, Florida Poly is located about halfway between the city of Orlando and the city of Tampa, so it really gives it a good foothold. And it also enjoys some Disney traffic now and again, as I got to experience coming down this morning. Can you talk about some of how that all plays together?
Yeah, so we have something called the Central Florida Partnership, and it was designated as one of the 10 A/B testing facilities or beds around the nation by the Department of Transportation. And that incorporates everything from Florida Poly all the way down here, and we further want to go to Tampa, but we have Central Florida with the Orlando area, we have UCF, we have the Space Coast and NASA, all the way up to Jacksonville. We have that whole central corridor area, I-4, which has teamed together to form partnerships to do testing and research of autonomous and connected vehicles. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I know the group is working on a number of initiatives. One is a PAWR, Power, they call it. But talk more about the Central Florida Partnership and how SunTrax is locating their autonomous proving grounds just behind the university here.
Sure. So SunTrax is a concept of FTE, the Florida Toll Pike Enterprise, and originally was designed to be a 400-acre toll testing facility where they could test new toll technologies. So whether it's a software or a hardware sensor, anything to do with tolling in Florida, they're building the facility to test those tolls. They have 200 acres on the interior. And the concept is, going along with the toll testing, the advanced toll testing, is this concept of connected automated vehicles. So they've designated a significant portion of money, over $100 million, for the interior, 200 acres, to build a world-class automated connected testing facility. Whether it's the sensor technology, sensor fusion, positioning technologies, platooning technologies, anything that has to do with either the sensors or the vehicle itself will be tested in the interior of this facility. Now, just to give everybody a little time frame, next spring they will be testing the toll technologies on the exterior 400-acre, 2.25-mile track. It's about the size of the Daytona 500. The interior will start construction soon. We hope to be testing toll or automated connected vehicles sometime in the summer of 2021.
Well, one of the most exciting parts of getting to know you and getting to know Florida Poly has been the spirit of collaboration. This region, has a couple of big cities or medium-sized cities and then a whole lot going on. And you seem to bring it all together here. Can you talk more about how the Central Florida Partnership and how that comes together with NASA and some of those other big entities?
Right, so one of the big wins for Central Florida, and the reason they were designated as one of the 10 toll testing facilities, is it's a group effort. So we have USF, UCF, Poly, the whole Florida university system came together as the academic arm. Then you have like municipalities, like you said. So you have Orlando, the Florida Toll Pike Enterprise, FDT, the city of Jacksonville. All these communities came together and said, we're going to contribute and be part of this Central Florida community. And then you have government agencies like NASA, which brings a big arm in testing and of testing and automated technologies. So the collaboration of all these entities together was the big win. It was one of the reasons that Central Florida said, hey, we're going to move ahead. It's not just one group. It's not just Poly. It's not just it's all these groups working together to advance this technology.
And we have an exciting living lab here as well when it comes to mobility. If you look at the I-4 corridor, we have obviously the theme parks and tourism, normal commuters. Can you talk to what are going to be some of the advantages of connected car and autonomous car and how Florida Poly is positioning students to be the leaders there?
Sure. I always talk about automated connected vehicles in several verticals for those of you who are entrepreneurs. So one would be public transportation systems. Everybody's heard of Uber and Lyft and shared mobility technology. Well, with the advancement of automated vehicle shared mobility, it brings a new layer of safety, efficiency, and connectedness that will advance, I think, transportation to the next era. Not only with safety, but with efficiency, with energy efficiency, with connectedness. The second vertical I really like to talk about is trucking. We're looking at advanced technologies and platooning or long-range trucking or the last mile trucking solution. All these technologies that will be moving our industry forward, and trucking is the big one, will be a big driver. And then the last one would be the privately owned vehicle that everybody's familiar with, the Teslas, when can I own my own private vehicle? I honestly think that's probably the third one. That's not the one we're concentrating on right now. Right now it's the shared mobility and it's the trucking industry. Back to Florida Poly, and specifically AV, CV, and EV. We always group them together, technologies. AV itself is interesting, but not that exciting. It's not the sexy one we're looking at. AV is strictly, can a car drive by itself, stay in the center of its lane, don't change lanes when there's somebody in your blind spot, stop when somebody's in front of you, make smart decisions and keep the car safe. That's just a car driving by itself. When a car starts to talk to other cars, like 2 cars ahead, it says, oh, that car sees a pothole. Or 4 miles ahead, you say there's a traffic jam on I-4. Your car becomes a sensor that starts to communicate with all the other cars on the lane. Now you have the multiplicity effect. So it really ramps up the productivity. And in addition to all the cars that become sensors, now you start to inform first responders. You start to inform the police force. You can start to inform the Department of Transportation of any potential problems. The last part of that is the EV, and that's the electric vehicle technology. That's where you get the big gains in energy efficiency. You go away from burning fossil fuels to more of an electrical approach, which will be very ramped up with the advent of autonomous connected vehicles.
So, I mean, it sounds like we have a lot of infrastructure construct and it may be a matter of decades to get all of this rolled out. Any sort of soft time frames for how this is coming together?
Sure,
What's first in that direction?
Sure. I always caution people that the rate of adoption of any technology, whether it's the cell phone or just the car or airplanes, seems like it's very far, but if you look at the time frame, the adoption of mobile phones from introduction in the mid-90s to full-scale adoption in the mid-2000s with 10 years. I think you're going to see that type also with autonomous connected vehicles. So there's a lot to do. But let me give you some time frames. I really think you're a level 4, level 5, a car that can make decisions on its own, stop when it needs to, and is self-aware enough that it will pull off to the side of the road. That'll be available next year. Available is different than market penetration. When you start talking about when can I buy a car or when will it be widespread, probably more on the order of 2035. But as you brought up, with all the infrastructure requirements, the wireless requirements, all this that needs to support the advancement of this technology, a lot needs to change between now and then. And it's not just the automobile.
Well, I think society might be better off in 2035 if I am in an automated vehicle. But okay, so there's a lot of technologies, and let's talk about one real quickly, or just focus in, and that's the network capacity. Sure. Las Vegas has introduced automated vehicles down the strip now, and they seem to be going very successful. They obviously have a live human in there. But can you talk to a little bit about what are the network technologies that are enabling the trials, and then how do you see technologies like 5G impacting this?
Sure. I always caution that there are intermediate technologies, and I don't think 5G will be the end of it. I think 5G is an enabling technology. So some of the enabling wireless technologies that go into this are DSRC, which are dedicated short-range communication channels. You'll see 4G evolve into 5G, which could be a panacea, although the range may be a little bit limited. I think that will develop I think Wi-Fi signals will continue to grow and be part of this. So it'll be a mesh-type design for DSRC, 5G, Wi-Fi signals to communicate, to allow this communication. A lot of policy issues go into question there too, but all those technologies will play a part.
Have any of the carriers, the cell carriers, or any of the other technology companies approached the Florida Partnership and Suntrax and trying to partner to test latency and some of these other technologies, capabilities?
That's a great question. And that's part of the selling point of Suntrax. It's not just testing the vehicles. How do we automate, or how do we equip Suntrax, and that's part of what Florida Poly adds to it, is how do we equip Suntrax to test these latencies? How do we test the wireless requirements? Companies, I'm not going to name specific names, but companies have approached us and said, hey, we're very interested in the wireless capability, the wireless requirements, the bandwidth, the throughput required to transmit all these different signals that will be going on. So yes.
Yeah, well, Dents has been traveling the country and looking at kind of the pioneers, particularly in this intelligent transportation, connected vehicle, autonomous vehicle continuum. And we recently did a webinar with Dr. Larry Head at the University of Arizona. Do you know Dr. Head?
I do know Dr. Head.
We were really blessed. We collaborate with the City Networks Task Force, which is with the Smart City Council and the Wireless Infrastructure Association. And really what we're learning is all of this is coming together with a lot of collaboration, a lot of entities. Who else do you get involved with from Florida Poly here in Florida? I mean, are you reaching out all over the world and around the country? How does this all come together for you guys?
You brought up the world, so that's a good point for everybody to remember that it's not just the U.S. doing this. It's going on worldwide. So we've reached out to other universities such as MIT, Harvard, Purdue, Clemson, other universities that are in Florida, Virginia Tech, and there are several others, Arizona is another one, that are leading the way in advanced vehicle technologies. So one is to collaborate among universities. The second part is to look at government agencies. What is the U.S. Army? What is the U.S. Air Force? What is DOT at the federal level doing to test autonomous vehicles? What are the standards that are being put out? So get in tune with what's going on at the federal level. Let's not recreate the wheel. A big part of it is flat out industry, because industry will drive this forward. What are the leading companies that are involved? Is it Velodyne? Is it Luminar? Is it, you name LiDAR technologies? Those companies come to us and say, hey, these are the technologies we're working on. We're working on 128 beam LiDAR that can do X number of miles, that can give you 3D pictures not using visual technologies. Those companies come to us and say, hey, this is what we want to test. So it's a collaboration between all three, university, government, and industry, that forms the partnership.
So, I mean, looking at this in more or less summarizing Florida Poly, it's STEM-based, and really you're training the skills that we don't even know where that's going. We're on the front edge of this, and these are the jobs that are perhaps when I was in college and we had punch cards, and I was looking at the other guys and saying, it's just boring, right? They're now quite wealthy. So are we in that kind of environment here where there's a complete paradigm shift, quantum change, and all that kind of good stuff?
Well, there's a lot of excitement here at Poly. So let me, there's twofold answer to that. One is the research component. And even though we are undergraduate, we do have a small group of graduate students. We're going to grow our research capability to research, develop databases, develop test centers, develop test results, develop next generation research results for advanced mobility. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is the educational aspect. And you talked about training the students. Well, the whole field of advanced mobility provides a ripe, and from a professor's perspective, provides a ripe field for the students to explore problems. It's it's a defined project. They can work on a team. They can work on communication skills. They can work on technical skills, and they then become, once they graduate, whether they are working on traffic lane management, they're working on electrical engineering aspects. They're working on the next generation LiDAR. They're a computer science student working on the next generation algorithms. Each one of those is a specific set. They become problem solvers. They become very employable to you as a company. And they become lifelong learners, and they become lifelong employable, which is what we really want to do at Florida Poly. We want to give them a very sound background on the technical fundamentals, but we also want to give them that edge so that they are lifelong employable, or possibly employers.
Well, that's what I see. I think that some of these students 5 years from now are going to be setting the intellectual benchmarks, right? They're going to have such a depth of knowledge because in what we're looking at in the future, it really is hands-on. It's got to work, right? It's this deep engineering, and it's not one mind that's going to solve all this. So it's building that ecosystem, and that's what's most impressed me with my work with you and the people you've introduced me to at the Turnpike Authority and the cities. I guess I want to say that I see it and I hear. I guess my main point is I hear from employers. I work with the companies that make up the City Networks Task Force or Dense Networks, and that's what they're looking for is people who can come in who have open minds and a real depth knowledge of these new emerging technologies, and they become the leaders, right? If they've got that skill set, personal skill set that needs to develop, because. Folks in my shoes just can't really even imagine where this goes.
Right. And working with the students is very rewarding in that respect. Mm-hmm. They set the standard. They're very excited. They're very eager to, they're adopting of the technologies. They want to learn. They want to have projects. We give them internships, so they actually go out into the workforce and they work for Luminar, they work for Voyage, they work for Google, Apple. So they get a taste of it while they're a student. So when they graduate, as you said, they have this mindset that this is the problem that we can do. We love it. We live it. We are excited about the future and the technology. So it's fun talking to them.
Well, what I'd like to do is, if possible, I'd like to come back again.
Sure.
And break down some of these actual, these sectors, these different pieces that need to all come together to create that ecosystem. You mentioned LiDAR and Luminar, which is an emerging growth company here in the region. There's a lot of these components that come together. So I think the audience, the students, as well as the business folks I mix with, are very interested to hear granularly how this is getting done and some of the research and work you're putting together here. Is that a deal?
Yeah, and you should come back and take a look at the progress of SunTrucks, talk to the students, see some of the projects. The school is now underway, so there's a lot of energy and activity going on. So an opportunity to come down and talk, again, don't talk to me, talk to the students, and you'll see the excitement and the energy going on. So please come back anytime.
That would be fun. All right, thanks very much. See you down the road.
Thank you.
Okay, that went pretty good, I thought.